start off with like, I'm reading this like business, like life productivity book, and now I'm in a cult?
Well, it was like, do you want to make your life better? Obviously, you want to come with us to this retreat. I outlawed it. I was like, if you ask me what's for dinner, you're going to be the one cooking, because either it's on the board or you're it.
Is fitting everything into your day actually realistic? Like, you don't go to church and go, hi, I've never actually read the Bible.
Nope.
Or I'm really struggling in this area.
That's not exactly how you start a conversation.
No.
Hi, I'm Sabrina. I can't read the Bible every day.
But I do think that this is helpful, even if you have less than 14 people living in your home. Hey friends, and welcome to season 2 of Happy Homemaking, a time and a space for a couple of friends to get together and talk about all the homey things. Because I think in all the years of having this channel and in everything that we've done, we've always talked about how really the purpose of this channel was to create community in space where you could connect with other women, other moms, other wives, other homemakers, other just Christians in general, and talk about all those things that we run into in just the day-to-day of life, but in a real and authentic way. And so if you were coming over to the house to visit, we would all sit around the table, have a cup of tea with usually a cute little cup that I've recently found at a thrift store because that is my favorite thing to do. And we would talk about all the things. And so now that Sabrina is here, you guys get to see her in our Chatty Coffee Dates at the end of each week where we answer your questions. So again, anytime you have a question, leave a little coffee cup emoji with it. Sabrina will collect those and we'll answer them in the Chatty Coffee Date podcast. But we're going to start our week off here with a few fun segments of just homemaking related topics. And we thought to kick off Happy Homemaking Season 2, the first topic we would focus on, we're calling it our Have You Heard? And you know, when you first get together with friends, because we do this every morning, I meet her in the office and, oh, have you heard about this? Have you heard about that? And I live under a rock and have most never heard of anything that you bring up. And so we said, you know what, this is what we're starting Happy Homemaking with. We have a delicious cup of tea and we're diving into the Have You Heards. So what's going on in the world? What have you been hearing about that I most certainly probably have not?
Well,
that's good tea. I love this tea.
It is really good.
It is. It's really good. I'll link it down below. Don't worry. It's a really good tea.
So,
yeah,
last night I was perusing the interwebs, as I do.
As you do.
As I do. And I found an article about a book club.
Okay.
That turned out to be a cult. And
welcome to our book club. Also, we're a cult. Okay.
The story ends with a guy selling his house to fund the book club
cult.
Yes.
Wow.
But it was just a book club. Obviously, it wasn't actually a cult.
So they literally were like, that's insane. Like, what kind of a cult is this?
Okay, so they met and it was like a Zoom call that they got together and discussed books, and it evolved. So they started listening to like the 7 highly habits of an effective person.
Oh yeah.
I think that's the title of it.
I have listened to like that's like a business productivity book.
So you mean it's got a wide net?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, they targeted.
How do you start off with like, I'm reading this like business, like life productivity book, and now I'm in a cult?
Well, it was like, do you want to make your life better? Obviously, you want to come with us to this retreat. You want to do this thing with us. You want to make sure you enrich your life with this activity or this seminar. And they would do all of these things, and they cost considerable amounts of money.
Wow.
And so
I feel bad when I charge even a little bit of money for anything with like the true purpose to actually help someone.
Yes.
And that's what amazes you, because you see these people that charge. Like there's this one guy I listen to, because surprise to everyone, I watch an insanely small amount of YouTube.
Yes.
And I just don't.
You don't listen to podcasts. No. You're not really listening to a bunch of like talking things.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
No.
I just don't. I listen, I'll go through sermon series, I'll listen to my Bible app, or I have a few very select things that I do listen to. And that's like, I listen to one thing a day and that's it. Like, I just don't listen to a lot of stuff. And I listened to this one guy, and it's usually like business finance related what I listen to because I just enjoy that stuff. Like to me, that's like a leisurely thing to listen to. I don't know. That's like my leisure time. If I'm doing something, I'm like, oh, I'll put this on. But he talks about the numbers that he charges for these things. And I'm like, that, I mean, good for you. If that's what you could like, okay, whatever, have at it. Like, okay. But it just blows my mind, the things like that, because I'm like, I feel like I charge, $5 for something that I pour tens and tens of hours into just, I mean, so much stuff. And it's like, oh, that was $5, or $10. Like I get like, oh.
So,
but it's hard to be able to be confident, right? Yes. This stuff you see now living here, like how much work it takes to make these things exist. Like we got bills to pay too, like I get it, but then you look at these where like you've now created this cult off of, and people they pay crazy amounts.
So the difference between the part that pushed it over into absurd is anytime somebody promises a pill to fix it all. Ooh, just read this book and it'll fix your life.
Yeah.
Oh, just read this or go to this seminar. Oh, just attend this one Zoom call. It will change everything. No.
Like when the purpose-driven life was the thing back when like everybody had that. I mean, I could spot a purpose-driven life book from a mile away because everybody had it.
Yes.
But it was purpose-driven life is going to change everything. You just need this one book. And I mean, Rick Warren's one of the biggest heretics out there, now but that was like the magic pill that was going to fix everything for Christians back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Obviously you weren't a real true Christian unless you read the Bible and
purpose-driven life.
And
sometimes you just read purpose-driven life because, there's verses in there.
And there's no time, so you got to choose between one or the other, and you're a busy mom, and shucks, I gotta rush. Yeah, it's all kinds of wrong. But I think that's what the difference is, that anytime a magic pill is offered or a magic solution is the offerings up, it'll never work. Never. It'll never work. It'll never pan out.
No.
And those are the things that people charge absurd amounts of money for. And I think vulnerable people really end up falling for it because they're vulnerable. And that's why they've cast such a wide net, is because they're looking for people who are vulnerable and weak and willing to take that magic pill.
And I think that we see that so often, right? That's the thing that's so frustrating, I think, because even people they come to what they think is coming to the faith, but it's, I'm struggling, and either so many of our quote unquote pastors today are really just motivational speakers. And it's like, come to Jesus and your marriage will be fixed. Your parenting will be changed. There's these big, broad promises given of like your life, you will become successful and prosperous and all of that when you come to faith. Like Jesus can fix all. And you're like, yes, there's always pieces of truth. And that's what makes it so hard. That's why in scripture we're told so often to discern, to be discerning, because you get this idea of like everything's going to be fixed. And then it doesn't get fixed, right? Your marriage isn't better. You are still struggling financially. You're still dealing with mental struggles or whatever it might be. And then people go, oh, well, God's the problem. Jesus isn't really the fix. You know what I mean? We have this thing of or you internalize it and it's just you don't have enough faith. You're not strong enough.
I don't believe enough.
You don't.
So obviously it's me. So you either internalize it and it's my fault. I'm not enough. Or you externalize and, oh, God's not enough. God didn't do up his end. I read The Purpose-Driven Life and why didn't this work out for me? It must be God. That's it.
I think that's what's so sad, and what frustrates me is Christians as a whole, we get really upset if someone calls out a false teacher, right? Like you say something about, Joyce Meyer, Stephen Furtick. I mean, you can go, even the Chosen series, things like that. You call out those things and people get really, really upset, but it's but these are false teachings. There's major theological issues here. like in scripture, like Christ himself talks really, really clearly and strongly about what to do with people who mishandle truth. And I think that's what's so hard is you get these people and they put out these massive promises of like, come here and this will happen or whatever. And then it doesn't pan out. And most people end up then turning and walking away. Now, not everybody, right? Some people still come to a true saving knowledge and move. And that's, praise God. But that's not because of the false teacher or the false thing. Like, it is in spite of that. The Lord still pursued you and still brought you to a saving knowledge. So like that book, like you mentioned, I'm like, I've heard of that book before. There's nothing wrong with that book. That book doesn't create cults, but that's just insane that like a whole cult was brought out from something like that. But then I think that's that part where like doing this, like having these real conversations, I feel like a lot of like as women, most of us don't get together with our friends or the women at church or whatever your people are and like have deep theological conversations. No. And I would never structure it that way. Like I would never be like, ladies, we're getting together and having a deep theological discussion. Ready? Let's go. Obviously. Yes. Like that's not what we do, but I feel like the context of that are still conversations that we need to have and to be learning and growing, right? That's why we read scripture. That's why we study. That's why you have these discussions and you have these things and you go, wait a second. How does that, because we should all be growing and discerning every day. But that's where like, something came up. Maybe it was with one of the kids. I don't remember where it happened, but I was like, see, this is why the topic of women being homemakers is so important. I don't care if you work outside of the home, you're in the home all the time, you have kids, you don't have kids, you're married, you're not, like those are just pieces of it. Titus 2, we're called to prioritize home. It's as simple as that. And look what happens when we prioritize home. It doesn't mean that that's the only thing we do. Like I scrub my floorboards all day long and I don't get to do anything else, right? Like that's not it.
That's a physical house. That's not your home.
No.
There's a very large difference between your house and your home.
Yeah.
You can prioritize your home and your house kind of be disheveled.
Right.
But your home is taken care of. The things that matter in that environment to the people in the environment are the things that are high on the priority list and not the house and the standard that society holds for that. That's so different. No. We're meant to enrich the people and the environment and not the physical building, because buildings are
buildings, right?
Buildings, and they evaporate. They're gone.
Yeah.
They don't go to heaven.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. Ain't nobody taking their house.
I mean, if we have really, really clean floorboards, I guess we could take those with us. No.
Cleanliness is close to godliness. But it is. And so it's like, but look at the value and importance when we prioritize our being keepers of the home. And part of that is our growth, our discipleship, our knowledge, right? Our training up our children, building, like it's all of those pieces. And imagine the world today if we literally were living those things out. If we put as much focus into that as we do so many other things, and we're all guilty of it, right? Like we all have areas that we focus on far too much.
No one's perfect.
No one's perfect. No.
Absolutely not.
And it's that point of like, wow, like I'm not saying I'm perfect at this, but it's definitely a priority. And that's where I think it's great that we get to have these places and these times like this here, where we can have these conversations and encourage one another and a community to say, yeah, this is important and this matters. So have you heard about books turning into cults here recently? No, I have not. But now we know, and we know that there's a deeper conversation to be had in even the simplest of topics. Remember to come and get your Heavenly Minded Homemaker Planner. This is 93 pages of downloads for just $5, customizable to fit your home needs. There's biblical womanhood scriptures included. You can see the biblical holy days all year long, Passover to Passover, with seasonal designs that are beautifully watercolored, so that way you can use the multiple inserts to fit your home, your needs with the Heavenly Minded Home Homemaker Planner. Our next segment here is What's for Dinner, because that is the worst game to ever play with anyone, especially your family. And I don't know about you, but my family likes to play this game all the time.
I outlawed it. I was like, if you ask me what's for dinner, you're going to be the one cooking, because either it's on the board or you're it.
I love that. Okay, well, segment concluded. If whoever asks what's for dinner has to cook dinner.
Man, what do you want for dinner, since you're the one asking about it? And the kids are always like, I don't know, food.
Yes.
Well, that's not helpful. You're asking me what's for dinner, and then what you want for dinner is
food.
Like, what?
That's awful.
So we instituted that essentially if you ask about dinner, you're the one who gets to choose what we're having, and then you're usually pulled into assistance of making it. Yeah.
Okay, because I genuinely hate the what's for dinner game. But it's a struggle. I have found that for us, it is much easier since doing Carnivore. Yeah. I feel like, right, sometimes people go, well, don't you get bored? You don't have a lot of, I don't. And I love the simplicity of it. And it's like we eat the same core things. And
I think most people eat the same core things. They just don't even want to admit
it's
that.
Not carnivore, right? But it's the same core things.
Yeah.
So for us lately, we've been eating the carnivore diet. Your family's kind of gone back and forth, but I think carnivore would be really big for a lot of the health things you have. So it's one of those things that you're like, I would like to get more into this. Doing it with a big family on a budget, because neither of us have massive budgets for our grocery plan. So trying to find things that are cost effective. And so I know, like I shared recently a video on how we've been doing it a week's worth of meals for 14 people for just at about $200. And somebody was like, I don't think that's possible. I'm like, no, literally, I put all the things we ordered for the week in a grocery cart, like one order, and did that. And I share my Walmart order list with you guys. You guys can sign up for our carnivore thing where I'm putting all these resources and things. If you want to do a carnivore challenge, they're all gathered. All of that is linked down in the description. But ways to make it work for a big family. And this is where I actually have a question for you. So our family, I really like staying strictly carnivore because I see so many results with it. Some weight I've been needing to lose. My PCOS is drastically affected by carnivore. Taking things like I take the Primal Queen supplements now. Carnivore was massively impactful for my PCOS. And then since taking Primal Queen, it's only like magnified the results I'm getting, which I'm so thankful for. But for me, like I really feel the difference. So I really like to stay. I don't always do the best job with it, but I feel it when I don't. And I'm like, ooh, self, do better. That's what's affecting you. My husband has some health things and he feels so much better. The kids, well, yes, I want my kids to eat healthy meals. They're not dealing with any sort of health issues specifically that we're trying to treat. So thinking of different ways that we can make carnivore friendly for a big family on a tiny budget. I think of like you. I know going more carnivore would be helpful for you because of some autoimmune things you're dealing with. Your poor husband is allergic to nearly everything. He really is. Corn, sesame, wheat, like he has soy. Yeah, like he has so many allergies that are in everything. I know you guys have a really hard time. And while you have some kids that do have some things that they would like to work on or they have struggles with, it's not like they're like dealing with massive health complications, right? So like you have some.
I have a daughter who has sleeping problems, and we've had sleep studies with her. So there's no like long-term health issues yet. However, they are my children, and genetically they're my children. And I know that one of the things that I have been diagnosed with is genetic, and that absolutely my daughters all have it.
Because you're seeing the same signs in them that you were dealing with. So it's like, ooh.
Yep.
But so I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, what are some ways that we could make this still healthy and carnivore based? But I think a key point when you have a large family or you're really trying to be budget conscious is you can still eat, like say the carnivore way of eating, and that can be your base for you or you and your husband or you and a certain child or whoever might be dealing with something. But you can also make some alterations to allow that budget to stretch a little bit further and still be healthy. Your family, you guys are big rice people. You guys, we got home the other day and you guys had a rice maker in the house. And I was like, what's that? Our family like doesn't eat rice.
Rice is like a main staple in our house.
I know. And so like, I find that so fascinating. Like I know we're weirdos that.
So with my husband not being able to eat
many things,
wheat, he really liked Chinese food. And so he wanted some kind of varieties of food. And so we got a rice maker, and quite often we will eat. So when we lived in California, I would make a protein. Every meal was essentially the same, except the seasonings were different and the vegetables.
Yeah.
But I would make a protein, and then I would make a bunch of the vegetables, and sometimes I would saute some of them, sometimes they would be raw, but we would have bowls of food. So a taco bowl, a taco salad. But my husband could eat it with the rice. My daughter, who doesn't love meat, then just has a taco salad. My other daughter, who doesn't like rice, ends up just having a taco.
Yeah.
Or right. So we would make different combinations. Instead of taco meat, we would just have like lemon pepper chicken or barbecue with all the same kind of things that you could make with it.
But then it could be customizable to each person and what they actually wanted to have. And I think that even having a big family like us too, I mean, we both have 4 children and then mom and dad. So we both are core families of 6. We each have a bonus person in our family, but like we're both those core things. And I love that, where it's like you can create a base. For us, we always have a meat, right? Whether we alternate between chicken and beef. And on some things, you know, my husband will make that just plain with kind of just like generic seasoning. And then kids who want to add hot sauce to it or barbecue sauce to it can do that. Somebody who wants to, I always shred everything up and turn it into a taco of some sort or a taco bowl of some sort, right?
Southern California.
That's, you know, my kind of go-to. And so you're able then to kind of mix it in that. And so I think rice, okay, it never was something ever that my family ate either. Like we just didn't eat rice. And so I know like people say, well, white rice is just not healthy. There's nothing to it, but there's lots of different types of rice.
Oh, we don't.
Right? Like,
we don't eat white rice.
No. So, but I always like said that, like, oh, okay, so rice isn't a healthy food. But then you look at so many cultures around the world where rice is a staple, and they are some of the healthiest people on earth. So for me, again, I was totally ignorant. I'm not saying I know anything of this. I just didn't really come from a family that ate rice. I don't eat much just Asian food in general. So I'm very ignorant on the entire topic. And so then they were like, oh, rice isn't healthy. And so I just didn't eat white. I was like, well, cool. I don't eat rice anyways.
Then they also said that brown rice is not healthy either, because the shell or the hull of brown rice, if you eat too much of it, it has arsenic in it.
Oh.
So you can get arsenic poisoning depending on how much brown rice you are eating. And you should not substitute all of your white rice for brown rice because of the arsenic poisoning that could develop. I don't know.
I know I wasn't knowledgeable, so I just kind of gave up and stopped everything. So you had your rice maker, and I was like, I know what we're going to talk about for the segment. Because again, if you're looking for a way to stretch the budget, what are some other healthy options that, yes, I believe with carnivore, meat and animal-based products are the easiest things for every body to process and consume.
Yes.
That's the easiest thing. Your body has to do the least amount. So inflammation and things like that. Doing strict carnivore for a period of time to kind of detox your body, allow it to heal internally, and then add things in is, I think, a very well-rounded, healthy way to go about it. So if you've done that and you've healed those internal things, or you have children that maybe don't have as many of those internal things because they're children, there are things that you can add in to allow yourself to kind of fall more in that ketovore kind of area, where you are bringing in other plant-based foods as your body tolerates it. Yes. Every body is going to tolerate it differently if you go through that process. But I feel like rice could be a very plausible option to, I actually found this book called The Rice Diet, where these doctors, they're in North Carolina. I found it at our library, but they did this like 20-year-long study basically saying that like rice is the food that like kind of like the same thing people say about carnivore, but they said that with rice, that like only eat rice and rice is the thing to like heal everything. And I was like, I don't know about that. Like that might be a bit far. Tell me about rice.
I didn't want to do either extreme because I have, with the declining health that I've had, I've had doctors tell me to go vegan. I've had doctors tell me that sugar is causing it. I've had doctors tell me onions is causing it, that garlic is causing it. I've had like all of the things. They're all just, they're the thing that's killing me. That's it.
Okay.
Just that one thing. Just cut this one thing out of your diet.
How
You'll be fine.
How many garlics and onions do you consume to be?
I don't know. I just, so in my illest point, I didn't eat hardly anything. And when I was able to eat, I essentially ate hard-boiled eggs and bone broth.
Wow.
And that's what I lived on because I was so sick and food was making me so ill that was what I had to eat.
What you could do.
And so that's what I ate. And then I ate a little bit of rice and it didn't kill me. And I went, okay, well, at least that's something else that I can eat because otherwise I am going to malnourish and literally starve to death.
Yeah.
So I ate a little bit of rice. And then we learned all the complications and the health problems with my husband, the allergies.
Right.
Like he is a very healthy individual and
a lot of allergies.
He just has a lot of allergies. The only main thing that he's not allergic to is strawberries, eggs, and he's only partially allergic to shellfish, but everything else is like a big old no-go. So we added a little bit of rice to it, and then he ate mainly carnivore. And with the way we eat, if you want to eat carnivore, you can eat just the carnivore portion of it. If you wanted to eat vegetarian, you're considerably more limited. However, there's always an available thing. If you want to eat one of those standard American diets where you have to have the starch and the vegetable and the protein, you could actually do that.
Right.
Then I have a boy child who just wants to eat bacon and hot sauce. And that's all he would be totally chill with.
He could just eat that.
Bacon, barbecue sauce, and hot sauce. And he would be the happiest kid in the whole world.
Yeah.
But that's not right. So we have to give him a wider availability. But if you choose to partake in them, you can. On days where I'm like, you know what? I have been eating way too much starch. I can tell because I feel poofy or, oh man, I don't feel right. I monitor what I eat and then I just eat the protein portion of it. I learned how to make a bunch of masalas and like buttered chicken and things to eat with the rice, but then I make them the carnivore way of it, and then we just would have it over top of rice.
Yeah.
Meaning my husband and I would eat just the portion of the protein mix, and then everybody would eat rice or vegetables as they chose.
But I think that's such a great way, right, to look at things like that, where like you can eat healthy even with a large family, even on a budget, and being able to bring in things like that, like finding healthy ways to cook rice, healthy rice, get the nutrients that are in it.
We usually add bone broth to the rice, and it's not just poofed up with water. We add a bone broth to it, so it's got the nutrients, and quite often it was a piece that I was missing, so like we would add it to it.
Right. That's a great way to do it, though, and then you're still bringing that in while being able to kind of stretch it a little bit further, especially if you've got young kids, a lot of kids, growing kids, teenagers, right? Anything in that mix.
Our son is a twig.
Yeah.
Like that's actually his name. Like he's Twig.
Yeah.
And so he's so tall and so thin that if he only ate protein, if I only allowed him to eat the bacon and burger patties that he wants to eat, if he lost any weight, we would be concerned about it.
Yeah.
So
he's just built that way. Like
it's his build.
Yeah.
Absolutely. but he wants to.
He's a growing teenage boy. He needs a little extra.
Yes. And so, oh yeah, have a serving of rice. Oh yes, absolutely, have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich as a snack, because you are a growing teenage boy who probably needs a little bit more.
Yeah. So see, it's totally possible. Even carnivore, even doing this, looking into other options to grow this and to make it work for your family. Because again, the root is I want to nourish my family through the fuel that we consume, our food. And so does that mean I might look at adding in some rice or doing something? Maybe I won't be eating it, my husband won't be eating it, but the kids most certainly could. Like there's many healthy ways that you could bring in other elements to help solve those things. So what's for dinner? For us, I'm thinking we might need you to make that buttered chicken and do some rice for the kiddos, because that kind of sounds delicious. So that's what's for dinner at our house. You'll have to leave us a comment down below and let us know what you're thinking of making tonight. As a Christian, and especially as a homeschooling mom, there's nothing more important than my time in God's Word each and every day, digging in, studying God's Word, training up my children in truth, walking this out in my day-to-day life. And something that I love so much, our family utilizes this each and every month, would be resources like Artsabox. Artsabox is a subscription box company over in Israel. It's an amazing team of Christian brothers and sisters. And what they do is they gather together products from Israel made by mainly small family businesses that really can show you exactly what it's like over in the Holy Land. To be reading in the pages of Scripture about these places, and then to receive an Artsabox of products made from today in that space is really such an incredible thing to just help reinforce all the truth that we're reading in Scripture, the real places that all of these people came through, where the foundations of our faith are laid. And I absolutely love these Artsaboxes. I have to tell you, there's that deeper piece of it that is so wonderful, to get these little booklets to learn about the different items that are in here and the families and people behind the products that are being made. We get different recipes and foods to try. The food is fantastic, I have to say. I wish I could go to Israel, but the budget doesn't quite allow for that right now. So we're using Artsabox instead to taste the food, to try out the different products. Their skincare products, I think, are the best I've ever used. I love when they come in these boxes. And this month they have a special archaeology box that has so many wonderful items in it that we are using all around our home. I'm so thankful for Artsabox. They really are one of our most favorite companies to work with. And right now I have a special discount code for you all down in the description box so that you can save 20% off of your subscription. Again, the archaeology box is a wonderful box. They pack so much value into these. You receive many items in each and every box, handcrafted, high quality items that really are so enjoyable to learn through and practically use in your home. It's one of my favorite gifts to give, and our kiddos look forward to this box each and every month so we can try out all of the fun things. And it also gives us a great opportunity to not only be supporting Israeli businesses, but then to have wonderful little trinkets like this candle holder that we've had forever here right by our kitchen sink. And we use it as a time to see that, to remember the people there that need our prayers, and to go to the Lord in prayer for his people in Israel, to pray for a true saving knowledge of the Lord through Christ Messiah to be known throughout the land as they go through all they're currently facing. So again, be sure to head over to Artsabox and check them out. Use that discount code below to save. Support an Israeli company here today, and have a wonderful journey in the comfort of your own home through the Holy Land. So I thought each week, obviously a segment we need to have is our greatest home struggle of the week. Because you just run into things in life that you're like, what? I don't even know what to do with this. And something we've kind of been experiencing ourselves that I think would be great conversation, and we're hoping we're not the only ones, but I'm guessing there's at least one other person out there that would be in this boat with us, is fitting everything into your day actually realistic? I think this is a great one because I know that we have many similarities, but we also have many differences. So that's what's really fun as friends, to see things. Our homes now are combined. We literally live on the same property. Yes. So we're literally seeing it in our day-to-day. I think because I know I do a lot of things and I put them out there publicly, people kind of assume that I just get everything done all the time. And I don't. Absolutely not. But I know sometimes that can be hard to see when all you see are little snippets, right? Like you're not getting the full picture. So I get it. That's like a realistic thing that you'd be like, ooh, I assumed that. Okay. Fitting everything into one day is unrealistic. It just doesn't happen.
But I really want it to.
I really want it
to. And then
I
get kind of disappointed when it doesn't happen, like, even though I know it's unrealistic.
But like this week, we had my son's birthday party. He turned 20. And so we goofed up our schedule, rightfully so, right, to come together and have this. But it was also like our key day that we had set aside to be like the day the things get done.
Yeah.
And then the things didn't get done because
we decided to party.
We decided to celebrate and have fun and like do fun things together.
I say party, meaning like our family got together and ate cake and like just sat around and chatted.
And did
there
was
a lot of us.
We watched a movie, we played games, like we did something other than
we broke the normal.
We broke the norm. And then it's like all week long we've noticed this, like, why isn't that done? Why is this like this? Why is this overwhelming? Why is that?
Yeah.
Well, because we planned everything, but like then every day comes and it's like, why can't we get all the things done? I know I beat myself up over that. And I get so stressed out and overwhelmed when the things aren't happening. And sometimes my husband will bring this up because he's like, I never said you had to do all of this in one day. I'm like, but I expected I could. I've got, 16 hours realistically in a day. And if I spend 1 hour per thing, right? Like I start thinking in my head how I could.
I think we all do that. But yeah, that's totally normal. At least for me.
At least
this only should take like 20 minutes. How in the world can I not manage? That must mean that I am bad at timekeeping. That must mean that bad timekeeping spills over into my homemaking and it spills into my training of my children. And I'm just terrible at everything now because I can't keep time and be a good time manager, because why can't I fit this 20-minute thing into my day? And that's so sad when I say that in that order, because
you hear how ridiculous it's. Yeah,
it sounds ridiculous. No one said that I had to do the things, and I'm the only one really getting frustrated over the laundry not being the right way because we're a day late or whatever it is. So I'm being unrealistic and I'm being the ridiculous one, and everybody else is just sitting around watching me going,
what's going on? Why are you so worked up over there? But I think that that's such a big struggle, though, is trying to find that balance, because I feel like there's the flip side of that, right? Because we always want to be somewhere in the middle in most cases, right? Like,
you don't want to be an extreme.
You don't want to be an extreme. I don't want to sit around and do nothing and be like, well, that can be tomorrow's problem, right? Like, I don't want to just always never get to anything, because that's not being responsible and being intentional, right? Like, sometimes it happens. It does.
Sometimes tomorrow you is going to be better equipped.
Yes.
And other times we're using that as an excuse.
We are. Because you're right. Sometimes you hit a spot, like, especially you deal with many, many chronic health issues. Some days you have to say, like, we were supposed to, in full transparency, we were going to record this yesterday. You were not feeling well. And no matter what you did and how you tried, we said, hey, this is not that big of a deal. It is far more important that you feel better.
Yeah.
How about you rest today and we'll deal with that tomorrow? And so I tinkered and did other things and like everything was fine.
We're just a day late.
We're just a day late, but like for our own self-imposed timeline that isn't real. Like, I mean, yes, we're trying to be timely and get stuff done on a reliable schedule, but like it could wait. It doesn't have to happen today. But I think so often we do that to ourselves where it's like, we either never are getting to it and we just continuously put stuff off. I am horrible at this. I will put everything off to the last minute, create a disaster for myself, and then like slam through it all. I'm horrible at it.
If I did that, inevitably that deadline would come and I would be out the day the deadline came. Like, I would be so ill the day the deadline came that would be horrific for me to stack it all up like that. I have to be I have to do it completely different.
Yeah.
So it's really just even interesting between us.
Yeah. We're like literally the two ends of the spectrum where you get
Yes.
everything done ahead of time and try to fit it all in.
Yes.
And I'm fitting lots of things in, but I will totally create some sort of chaos at my deadline.
Yeah.
For whatever reason that I don't know. But I think we kind of get this idea that like, and I think social media, you know, it's another thing. Like, I don't know. I feel bad because I think we throw out social media as the scapegoat to so many things. But at the same time, because before it was social media, it was movies or TV or, you know, I mean, it's still something, but like we allow.
That's just all comparison.
But that comparison, I feel like, is so much now.
Yes.
That like you see everybody else. I'm sure there's somebody watching who goes, oh, Heidi always has it together. Heidi does not always have it together. I mean, you've said stuff. We first became friends from you watching the channel. And you're like, oh, don't you always have? I'm like, I don't always have that. Are you crazy? Like, I try my best. I do try. I do have seasons where things aren't going so hot and I stop trying, right? Like I have things, but like nobody's getting it done perfectly. And it's unrealistic to think that we're going to be able to fit it all in every single day.
I think using social media as a scapegoat is absolutely what we all do, because it's not social media. It's just us comparing ourselves to something else.
Right.
And we can compare ourselves to anything.
It just happens to be that's a easy comparison.
Because it's in our homes a lot now. I bet in the 50s and 60s, the women compared themselves to their next door neighbor that they got together and
keeping up with the Joneses, right?
Saw
that
regularly.
Yeah.
Yes. So you got together and you saw somebody regularly, and that meant that you could compare yourself to them in that fashion. But then we switched from being in person to online, and now we're comparing ourselves to people online consistently.
Yeah.
Even though we don't ever have the whole picture, we have the assumptions that we've made from what we perceive.
Yeah.
And no matter what, you cannot perceive everything.
You can't.
It's not realistic. Even though I have been in the home many times before living here, I still could watch your videos and only see it as a romanticized version of your day. It wasn't like it is what happens on the daily basis. You're not showing tiffs between children or the dogs wrestling or the right, but like it's real. It's always the grass is greener.
Yeah.
It's no matter what, I think that we're going to look at something and go, they have it so much better than me. It's just a mindset. But I think with social media, we see it more because we allow ourselves to see it more.
Yeah.
But it's still just all a comparison, and it's weird when we start comparing ourselves to people and things. And yeah, there's nothing that has to be done in my day at a certain time. I mean, the cats are gonna yell at me if I haven't fed them exactly at 7 o'clock. But outside of that,
we'll all be okay.
They yell for 5 minutes at me. Okay, they're not dead.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're good.
The cats will survive, I promise, even if they eat 5 minutes later.
Trust me, they're like large cats. They can survive.
They don't think they can survive, but they could. No, but I think that really is such a great, great piece and a great point to it. And I think that the more that we realize it is unrealistic to think that we could get it all fit into every single day. Yes. But there's also things that we can do. I do truly believe that life is as lovely as we choose to see it.
Yes.
If I choose to always look at it and see a negative, then life is going to feel really negative. I could be in a difficult situation, but always looking that kind of like Pollyanna attitude for it. And the negative situation doesn't feel as awful when you're always seeing the brighter side of it. So are there things that we can do that help us to achieve more, to feel more put together, even if we're not just physically being like, it's not all about just being productive from sun up to sundown, but like doing the things that have the big impact. Like we can do that. And so for you all, if that's an area where you're like, man, you're right, sometimes I just feel like I need to fit everything in, or I just can't fit everything in, or I'm trying to fit everything in and it's just like I'm getting run ragged. We will have another video coming out this week where I figured it would be a good time to just share some tips and tricks and things that we've been implementing here in the home. And Sabrina and I have both done these different things to try to help us in these seasons where we're trying to put those pieces together. So be sure to subscribe and turn on your bell notifications, and we will have that video coming out this week, because I think sometimes it is helpful to see a realistic view of like, okay, I know this is an area that needs some work. I know getting it all done is unrealistic. So like, real talk with real people, like what are some things that I can do here to at least help in that process? Because we've been doing a lot of like home life reset stuff after the big move of you guys moving cross country and getting here. And so these are the types of things we're working on. So if they can be a blessing to you, we'll share it. And hopefully that can help at least a little bit for even one other person out there. Then it is absolutely all worth it.
This is my mom, is Heidi. She does videos.
I do. Now that Sabrina is here, real life, just like if you were here, this would happen.
Yep.
What crazy thing do you have to tell me about here on our new cool show?
Oh, that's not. I totally want ice cream for breakfast.
Yeah.
Okay, you can do this.
You can do it. Welcome, friends, to the Chatty Coffee Date. As Christian women, of course, we all know that the most important thing we can be doing is spending time in God's Word, studying, growing, right? Really digging into those deeper fundamental things of our faith. And so I thought a perfect topic for the Happy Homemakings each week would be the topic of what are you studying? And we're going to start this off with a really special one because we looked at each other and went, I'm kind of struggling right now and not really studying anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I think sometimes as Christians, we don't want to admit, like, you don't go to church and go, hi, I've never actually read the Bible.
Nope.
Or I'm really struggling in this area.
That's not exactly how you start a conversation.
No.
Hi, I'm Sabrina. I can't read the Bible every day.
Basically. But it happens sometimes. And I know we are doing a new series. That's kind of what kicked off the series we're doing over in the HMH Collective. That's our membership group here on YouTube where we do studies. We just finished Biblical Womanhood, so I was doing that over the summer. You missed out on most of it because you were moving across the country and uprooting your entire life.
Yes.
Kind of hard to be plugged in and focused on a series when you're, uprooting your entire life. And
Hotel rooms have internet sometimes, maybe, but no, it was not.
Yeah.
No.
And so as we're kind of finishing that up, I was thinking about where we were going to go next. And honestly, that's why the series we're doing right now is what it is. Because I was so in this, like, I need a refresh here. I am not studying anything that's, like, got my attention. And I get frustrated when that happens. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but, like, sometimes I'm just, like, I'm in between things or I'm doing something, but it's just, like, I don't know. I don't have something. I love the feeling I get when I find a study and I'm like, ooh, that's the thing I'm doing. Like, I cannot wait to get to it.
So,
but I can't.
One of my daughters and I had a conversation about this.
Okay.
Because she was reading a book and she said it was the funnest book because it starts on page 110. You open the book and it starts on page 110. Like I know this is an imaginary number, but like it's a really far number in the book. It's like literally page 1 is not page 1, it's page 110.
So like when you open it up, that's what the first page is numbered.
It actually says on like the dedication page before it, it says your book is not numbered wrong. Just to be clear, I wanted our book to start on page 110 because that way you don't feel like you're starting a new adventure. You feel like you're in the middle of it. You don't have that, am I going to like this? Am I not going to like this?
You're jumping in halfway through.
No, you're jumping in halfway through. You are invested. You got, look, you have this thing that you're doing and you'll feel comfortable with it. Don't worry, just read our book. And her and I were talking about the fact that TV series are like that, books are like that. All of the things, they don't feel comfortable in the very beginning. And And then you get halfway through it and you just are like, oh, this is so good. This has got so much deepness and like meat in it. And then you start getting to the end and you're like, oh no, it's going to end. No, it's going to end. No. And then it ends and you have to figure out where to go from there. Yeah. And there's this lack.
Yeah.
And
sometimes that like step one can be so like overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes I'll lose the habit. So like something will happen.
Yes.
That stops it.
Moving.
Even surgery. For our house, we knew you were coming.
Oh, yeah.
So I've told you there's so many things around our house that I'm like, see, I never finished it because I knew you guys were coming and we'd have to redo it anyways. So like, why stress out and do it all right now when I'm going to have to redo it anyways?
Yeah.
But then it's like getting that habit back again.
Momentum is hard.
Momentum is so hard.
Once you have it, you've got it and it just keeps going. But momentum is hard to get going sometimes. Mm-hmm. And yes, there is nothing that I am studying right now because I finished one thing and decided not to pick up another one because of time constraints of moving and oh no, I won't finish it and then I'll forget where I am and then Mm-hmm. So I'll just put it on pause and I'll find something later. And it's later and I still haven't done it.
But it's so difficult. And I feel like it's hard because you don't want to come and introduce yourself and be like, hi, I haven't studied it. I don't know what I'm doing. And it is like, sometimes then I feel like I almost get in that like analysis paralysis.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there are so many options, right? I can hop on my phone and pull up thousands of
Type
options.
in the word sermon on YouTube. And then you have to use your discretion to weed through them. You have so many. And then you have so many garbage, and then you have so many good, but the good and garbage are mixed in, and then you're overwhelmed, and okay, my 30 minutes is gone. I'm a waste. I'm a failure because I didn't do what I was, oh man. And now I walk away feeling worse.
Mm-hmm. And then you pick up the next time you try and you do it all over again. You're in the same process, right? And then it's like, well, I don't even know. I'm not even looking anymore because it's just a frustrating thing. Mm-hmm. And so I know, I mean, and again, anybody who wants to join us, you're more than welcome to come and join us, but we're doing it because I was like, I feel the same way. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just picking something. We're just going to go for something. It's a sermon series that I've never even done before. It's from a teacher that I know, but we're just going to dive in and at least have something, because what do you do when you hit those points where like, you don't know what to study and you don't know what to do? Like, what do you do?
I usually end up asking you. So,
what are you studying?
So, friend, what you been studying? Because, like, I could use a new study, and I am ill prepared for what I am coming across on the internet. And then you and I will talk, and we'll talk about something, and so then I'll
spark something, right? Something, and I think that's why I kind of want to have this segment here too, because there's so many facets of this that we can cover. Mm-hmm. Like, I know if you YouTube search study your Bible or Christian, oh wow, there are so many things, and it can be hard because then you're like, well, I'm not studying like her, so am I studying wrong? And I didn't get that right. Like, there's so many pieces that come into it that I get. It's like we create a lot of this. It's like how we're taking the information. I'm not saying that that's what people are like putting out there, but when you take it, sometimes you're like, wow, like, I don't get up at 5 a.m. and have this whole intricate process. Mm-hmm. And so am I doing it wrong? Because mine doesn't look like that. But I think sometimes these are like the real conversations that we want to have with someone else, and someone that like we can trust and go to in like a judgment-free zone. But like, where does that exist? We don't all have that. I know I never had that, you know? And so you just kind of keep it to yourself, and then you just feel like you're the odd one out until you find someone else that you can be like, you do that too? I do that. Like, okay, I'm not totally alone.
Yeah. Because you look online and you look online and then you look online, and every day it's a discouragement, and the discouragement adds up, and then I feel like a complete failure, and then I don't want to try because trying feels like failing. And most of the time I end up just reading the Bible, and then I feel like that's not enough, mm-hmm. even though it completely, absolutely
it is, yes.
10 million percent mm-hmm. is. But I'm not listening to other people describe it, and that makes me less than, and I need other perspectives. And
I feel like sometimes when we're just reading through, which is great, I think we should read through our Bibles repeatedly. Like, we should always do that. But sometimes when you're going through, I'll get into like there's many books of scripture that I'm like, I have no idea. There's so much here.
Yes.
Like, I don't even know where to start. And I have some amazing resources.
Mhm.
My husband has a library full of wonderful books, commentaries, you know, things that like you can get some answers.
Mhm.
But as far as like really digging in and studying, I'm like, I am out of my realm here. I don't know. There's certain topics and certain books that I have put a lot of time and effort into,
Mhm.
and I feel like I can really dig in on those. But
Yeah.
I don't know it because nobody knows it all, right? Nobody has it all together. Look at some of the greatest men that have taught for years and years and years, and they're still always learning and growing, right? It's a living word. That's what it is. But sometimes it can be overwhelming when you're like, I don't even know where to go or where to start. And I think we both kind of felt that way.
Mhm.
And so, hello, the segment was born of like, what you studying? And even if the answer is nothing, it's okay, then what do we do with that?
Mhm.
And sometimes what we do with that is, hey, you want to come and join us and jump in? Because we're doing the same thing. We are quite literally doing that exact thing right now because we're like, I need a reset. I need to kind of new season, you know, kind of refresh everything here and get into it because I know where I want to be. And I know that when I get there and I rebuild that habit, it has a massive impact on all areas of my life. But I just need a little help getting that momentum like going in the first place.
Why would you want to start out? So this is almost October.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the last quarter of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Why would we not want to gear up for next year?
Yeah.
Like January 1st, everybody's setting their new goals and they're thinking about the things and they're doing it. Well, technically, the habits that you have in the last quarter of the year are actually setting you up for your new start for 2025, if you will. But if you have gorged yourself on all of the Christmas cake and New Year's punch and all of the party things, and then you're like, okay, now January 1st, I'm clean, I'm good. You absolutely are not. You have just like poisoned yourself and you're starting yourself out on a negative.
Yeah.
Why would you ever want to start out on a negative? Why don't we like set ourselves up for starting out at a positive or even just net zero? Because some of us are real low and like we're not even on the chart. So to get on the chart, we have to start making any improvement. And that's what I kind of think the next quarter of the year would be, to then start the year solidly and enforce the things that we've been working on and growing through.
I think that's a great way to look at it. And it's there's no sense in sitting around and beating yourself up because you're not doing the things.
Nope.
Like we both looked at each other and we were like, we need to talk about this.
Yep.
What are we studying? I'm not studying anything. Are you studying anything? No,
Nope.
We're both not studying anything. We really need to get our something. And that's okay. I'm not going to sit here and beat myself up about it. I'm not going to judge you for not having done it either because I haven't done it either. We're going to say, you know what? Today's a new day. God gave us today. Like, what do we want to dive into? Let's do that. And let's see if anybody else wants to come and join us because that's far more important. So again, if you want to come and join us, I will link everything down below with more information because we're getting started. It's all going to be on there. Join in whenever you can, but just know that sometimes what you're studying is nothing and you need a little reset. You need to build that momentum, and that is okay because God's given you that grace. You can give yourself that grace and say, you know what? You're right. Today's a new day. The Lord put me here for today for whatever purposes He has for us. Let's go. Let's do it. There is something so wonderful that happens when we feel better. I do not think the Lord put us here to feel fat, sick, and miserable all the time. I think He put us here to be fit, healthy, and serving and making the most out of each and every day. Something for me that has been a huge key component in my health journey, balancing my hormones after having a bunch of kids and getting older and going through so many different things that I've been facing. Been taking these Primal Queen supplements. Now, you've probably heard me talk about them before. You've probably seen people talk about them on the internet. I've seen a bunch of ads and things for them. I tried them out. They really are that fantastic. They're not paying me to say this, okay? I'm telling you about this because I've been taking these for the past few months and I am feeling so much better. It's 2 simple capsules per day that you take. You're receiving the nutrients of 6 different beef organs, which all of our ancestors knew this because this is how the Lord designed our bodies. Organs have so many nutrients that you cannot get anywhere else in this type of capacity that your body can actually really soak in and use. I started seeing results almost immediately, and multiple months in now, I'm just seeing more and more. I have more energy. I'm feeling better. My skin, hair, and nails, it has all gotten so much better. My monthly cycles, it's like light bulbs went on. It's been so different, so much better. I'm not dealing with the pain and issues I was dealing with PCOS and endometriosis. Intimate issues have been resolved. I mean, I could go on and on. My immune system has just had this skyrocket boost, and especially coming up into the colder months of the year, I am so thankful to have this in my system. I'm continuing to take it and seeing these results. And so, yes, I'm going to share it with you. If Primal Queen could be a blessing to you, then absolutely. I will leave you a link down in the description with a special discount code, and be sure to click the link down in the description for a special savings. And even if you've already gotten that before through our link, be sure to continue to use our link, as that allows us to track and see how many others are finding it useful. And also, I love to enter you all in for an opportunity to win a free month of Primal Queen on me. And so we believe in it so much. I've shared it with everyone. Our whole household is taking it, and you guys can get it down below for a special discount. Head over, try out Primal Queen, and see just how different you feel when you start healing using the nutrients that God gave us and designed our systems for. So a struggle that we're having, because we are now a household of 14 with 9 children. Mm-hmm. But we can't be the only ones that go through this, because I know as a family of 6, we went through this, and now it just seems like things are more intensified. How to find quiet time in a busy house. But I do think that this is helpful, even if you have less than 14 people living in your home. Because even as a mom with like a couple kids, I would think I want my quiet time for Bible time, or my quiet, just like, let me take a shower without Olivia climbing underneath the door to get at me, right? Like, you've had a block of cheese thrown at you in the shower before.
Yep, that's real.
That's a true story.
Yes.
But kids, sometimes, I mean, even my mom, it's just her and her husband. And some days she'll call, Papa, we love you so much. Some days she'll call and she's been like, Papa's been home for days. I haven't had a minute. Like, I'm trying to get my, like, it's just that dynamic changes. And he had some time off. So he's like, hey, let's do this, let's do that. But she's kind of used to her routine and what she does. So then she's like, I just need a few minutes of quiet, you know, and it just, but how do we find quiet time in a busy house? Because I've been watching us and our kids kind of not struggle, but like, we're trying to figure it out, because your family had your thing you were used to. Our family had our thing we were used to. And now it's just like, now that they've merged, like, how do we figure out the new, like, because it's still kind of the same, but yet it's different to a degree. I've been paying attention to things in the past week. That's what made me think of this for this today, of sometimes just that personal peace that you need. Like, we all need that. And there's nothing wrong with needing that personal peace of just like, I need a few minutes to be left alone, you know, like in the quiet.
So I did not know that you were going to spring this topic on me. And now I feel like I have to admit something.
Like, I go out and I hide from everybody because
So what happened was I got overwhelmed. And then I got really overwhelmed. And then I cried in the trailer as my husband pet my head, because I was totally touched out.
Yeah.
People had been talking to me, people had been touching me, and I was completely done. And I was overwhelmed, and I went and cried, and now I'm okay. But like it didn't happen now. This is not like I was just crying in my trailer. No. But
Well, your kids are like all the same age. They're all very close in age. So you've had teenagers for years now. Like they're all older teenagers and into 20. You now all of a sudden have a 6-year-old, like overnight you gained a 6-year-old again who
is obsessed with our house.
Yeah.
Like I adore the 6-year-old. Like I am completely enamored with her. But going from one extreme to the next
overnight,
there was no processing time. And for me, I need time to process. And in fact, I need a lot of time to process. And she did nothing. Like it was not her.
Right.
It was
she was just being a 6-year-old.
Exactly every 6-year-old would be like this. But it was going from one extreme to the next. And I just needed a moment. And I cried to my husband and I told him that everything was wrong. And he pet my head and told me it's all okay. Everything is not wrong.
You're just very overwhelmed right now.
Yeah. He's like, you're just overwhelmed and overstimulated. Let's go get you. Let's go get you tucked in and you'll feel all better. And it was just completely overstimulation.
Yeah.
And I needed a moment. And it was all the kids are in bed and my husband pet my head and told me everything was going to be okay. And that was my quiet moment of reassurance. And I just went, okay, it'll be fine. You're right. It'll be fine. I can do this. It'll be okay. Because I am used to much more. And then it was radically taken away. I was consistently with my children and my husband and all of our animals for 8 days in the bus and then a hotel. And then we got here and there's now 14 of us and all of our animals because we have a farm.
So there's a lot of things always happening. And that's what I think has been kind of interesting to watch, because I think we all do this where we try to find ways, or we haven't tried to find ways. And so we're dealing with the repercussions of that. Because
if I had let my overstimulation stew in me and I did not take care of it, I would have been a wreck. I would have been an angry, grumpy, yelling mom who just was irrational and everybody would have known it.
Yeah.
I would have caused all kinds of problems between all kinds of people because I was overstimulated. And when I am overstimulated, I get really just grouchy.
Well, then you end up feeling awful because it's not what you meant to do. No. So then that guilt and all of that comes in, and
then it's worse.
Again, it's just this horrid cycle you go through.
Absolutely.
But I know, like, there's different things. Like, I've noticed, like, I love waking up in the morning, getting ready when the house is quiet. Like, I get dressed and ready the moment I wake up every single day, because then it means I just do. And it means I'm dressed and ready and I don't have to worry about
stopping the day halfway through.
Yeah, like I'm just good to go. That's how I walk out. You know, I have my little granny slippers on, so I put on real shoes. I try to put on real shoes before I go out. Sometimes I run out and then I'm like, oh, I don't have real shoes on. Hold on. But like, I like to do that in the morning when it's quiet, because nothing gets me just, then when I'm trying to get ready and like everybody's coming into the bathroom, going out of the bathroom, and the kids need this, and then I'm stopping and I'm trying to like get this person done with this, and that, you know, like,
that's why you do it.
I just do it first thing in the morning, and then it's just done. And I'm not having kids rummaging through, you know, mom's room, especially daughters. You pull something out and then everybody's in there, you know, like rummaging through the stuff.
Oh, what's this? Where'd you get this? Oh, I want.
Yeah. So I just do it first thing in the morning, and then it's done. I love, like, we've been doing this. I come out first thing in the morning. You're usually already up, because I notice this too. You wake up. I think we technically wake up about the same time-ish, but I'm just doing things quietly in my bedroom.
Yes. And
you are doing whatever you're doing. And then we kind of meet in the office in the morning. But we have this like time of, we might do some chatting, but you're also tinkering on the computer with stuff. I'm tinkering on the computer with stuff. Like, we're taking care of some of our things.
Yes.
But like the house is quiet.
Yes.
Like, we have a couple older kids that are awake, but they're kind of doing their same thing too. You know, they walk in and say good morning, and then like they're doing their thing. But like having those little bits of time, that's why I started walking with my mom first thing in the morning. Cause like, I know it's not quiet time because I'm having conversation with my mom, but like walking. We get up and I video call her and we walk in the morning, and like my house is quiet, nothing's really going on, and I get a little bit of time of fellowship with my mom, and we're walking. So, you know, you kind of feel better, you're getting up, moving around, you know, whatever. But like finding those little bits of like, ooh, this is my me time.
You're using the word quiet time, and I'm hearing the word like rejuvenation time.
Yeah.
Because you are not, it's not having to be quiet. It's just where you are not pouring out.
Yeah.
That you are having something pour in or boost you up or rejuvenate you in some way. So when you walk, you're increasing your health, and it boosts all of those serotonin and the endorphins and such.
All the things that make you feel better.
It does. It makes you feel better. So you are literally taking the time to rejuvenate yourself. You get ready completely in the morning because you are trying to rejuvenate yourself so that you can prepare for the day without people taking from you, because you're needing to pour into you.
Yeah.
And
it's like when your kids, our rule is that if something's charging, you're like, if an electronic's charging, you're not allowed to be on it, because you're charging it, but you're also using it. So like, how much is it actually charging if like you're pouring the power right back out, right? Like that's what I'm hearing when you say that, of like,
that's exactly.
Let me just plug in and charge, even though the house is busy, even though stuff is going on, like I'm going to go plug in and charge for a minute, but you can't like be taking it out at the same time, or we're not really charging. But I think that's a great thing. Like, and even just to be okay with that, like in that social norm of like, sometimes we will all be doing something together, and you or I or one of the children or a husband, I mean, one of us will say, I'm going to go take a few minutes. I'm going to go
walk out, and oh man, some dogs need to go to the bathroom. I'll be the volunteer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a minute.
I've seen some of our kids go take a walk around the property. I walked into our room one day, and my husband was we have a chair in our room that like, it's actually the comfiest chair that we own, but we don't really have a spot to put it. So it's in our room, but we never just like hang out in our room. So it's kind of odd that it's there, but we love it so much we don't want to get rid of it. So I know it's kind of ridiculous, but like, we also have nowhere to put it. I walked in and he was just sitting there, and I was like, hi,
everything okay?
Is everything, what's going on? He's like, I just needed a minute. I'm like, no, like that's fair. Like the kids are out here playing. I mean, everything was great. Everybody's having a wonderful time, but it's just a lot of noise, a lot of stimulation. And he was like, no, I just needed a minute. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, don't let me keep you, you know, type of a thing.
Let me grab my thing and leave.
Yeah, I just wasn't expecting it. You know, I just was like, oh, you know, it kind of startles you. But I think that's it. If sometimes to say and to plan that into your day of like, I need little quiet moments. But I think that's important to be able to be like, I need a minute, and that's okay. And to plan that in your day, whether it's getting ready first thing in the morning before everybody's up or it's quiet. After our fourth, we kind of came up this thing where I told my husband every evening I'm getting a shower, but like by myself, like I need 15 minutes.
You don't want cheese thrown in at you?
I don't want cheese thrown at me, because obviously they're like, Mom, can you slice this cheese? Here, I'll just chuck the whole thing at you. But like, it's okay to plan those kind of rhythms and pillars in your day where you're like, I'm going to take a minute to do this. I love after we've done homeschool and done all the things I've poured into the kids, while they're out playing or doing co-op, pouring a cup of tea and sitting outside and like listening to my sermon or doing my Bible, right? Because it's like, everybody's good. I'm going to take a small little window I have here and just, you know, like even in a busy home though, I think even just giving yourself that permission of like, if you're overstimulated and you need to go hide out in your house and like.
It is the best scenario.
Yeah.
To just, when the kids were really little, I told them that I was going to put myself in timeout before, because if I don't put myself in timeout now, you guys are going to feel like I should have been in timeout. Yeah. So
give me a minute.
Give me a minute. I'm going to go take my time out because I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to be more prepared for this. I'm going to be calmer.
So if anybody else has been there, us too. So at least I think having the conversation saying, hey, sometimes these little tips and tricks, things we can add in, definitely a game changer for our days, because we need that quiet time, that rejuvenation time in our day to day. We are so thankful you guys came here to join us for these new episodes of Happy Homemaking. A new episode comes out each and every Monday, and then we'll have videos throughout the week about all the different topics. Of course, on Saturdays, we have our Chatty Coffee Dates where we answer your questions. So any questions you have, leave them down below, put a little coffee cup emoji next to them, so that way we know you want to see your question answered in our Chatty Coffee Date. Any questions you have, we are here for you. This place here at Heavenly Minded Home is to be a community, a resource. That's what we wanted, and that's what we hope to be for you all. We'll see you all in the next one. Bye, friends. Bye.